Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.
Hello and welcome to the penultimate Dragonheart of the season, I think, isn't it?
Penultimate, yeah.
Penultimate of the season. We've got a little bit to discuss today. First of all, though, we'd like to... You can't see him, he's on the other side of the camera, but thank you to our wonderful host, Phil, who is the owner of Bank Street Coffee Shop in town. It's a fantastic coffee shop that Phil very kindly offered to host us, so please, Wrexham fans, do us a favour and return the favour. That would be really appreciated. But we're going to talk today we've got a little bit on the retained list. We're going to talk about goal of the season, and then we have a lovely piece for some students from St Joseph's School. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
So, the retain list. Unfortunately, for a number of players, there has been some releases. So, Ryan Austin, Kai Calderbank Park, Malik... now this is a name that could get you in trouble if you don't pronounce it properly. How would you...
Dijksteel.
Right.
Double letters in German and Dutch.
Yeah.
Don't go like English where they change the sound, they just go longer.
Yeah,
That's
and of
my
course,
understanding of Flemish.
Probably a better understanding than my Flemish, to be fair. All of you in Belgium and Holland, if you need to correct us on our pronunciation, Netherlands, I should say, sorry, please do. Reisel Johnson, Jake Hyde, Harry Lennon, Rory Watson, I almost said Tory Watson, and that would be unfortunate. Tom Jenkins.
Got a song about that, haven't we?
Dan Jones, Louis Lloyd, and Will Mountfield. So, unfortunately for those players, their time has been finished with the club. Some of those names are youth players, are all players that haven't featured much, so maybe not humongous surprises, but I suppose the biggest surprise in amongst them is Harry Lennon, who has actually retired due to injuries, unfortunately. Mark, it's a sad decision for Harry, isn't it, to make?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been saying all along, I'm a bit of a stuck record on this, aren't I, that he's got terrific quality, and if he could avoid the injury issues, he'd be at a higher level, no question. He's a cracking centre-back, he's got pace, he's got height, he's good with the ball at his feet as well, and it's a massive, massive shame. But I like to think, even though it's no consolation for him, obviously, it's nice to think that his last Wrexham appearance was being heroic for 70 minutes at Bramall Lane, when he was brilliant, wasn't he, in the way he dug in.
I'll have to correct you there. He played against Woking the week after, didn't he?
But I'm trying to pretend that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as I said, I sort of suspected his last big appearance for Wrexham was... No, he's a good bloke and he's a good player, and it's a terrible, terrible shame that he can't carry on. I'm glad that we tried to do him right in terms of giving him the 1-year contract this year to give him that chance.
Yeah.
And I think as well that we did a good job in his first season in getting him fit and getting so much out of him, and he was important for us.
In fact, he was up until January, wasn't he? Yeah.
Let's be honest. We all focus understandably on Hayden's injury at the end of the season costing us, but quite frankly, Lennon's injury was a big cut into our resources.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Max Cleworth was brilliant the way he stood in for him, and that's developed another player for us, but. Yeah, it was a blow losing Lennon halfway through the season.
Yeah,
that's in the future.
Absolutely, and I think actually going back to Bramall Lane and the Woking match, that perfectly encapsulates how tragic the situation is. That he played absolutely fantastic at Bramall Lane, did not look out of place at all against the Championship squad. Bearing in mind that was his first start in a long time, wasn't it? Or I can't remember exactly, but he hadn't played much up until that point, maybe 1 or 2 in the trophy.
He played at Altrincham, didn't he? No.
That's right, yeah. I couldn't remember when, but I knew there was
I just want to re-establish my credentials as a bloke who can remember some football matches.
But for me, actually, I have tried my hardest, and I'm still trying to erase the FA Trophy from my memory. It doesn't exist after 2013, so...
No, that's true.
But...
You're Ferribying yourself.
Yeah, yeah, big time. He played absolutely brilliantly against Sheffield United, and then plays the week after against Woking at home. He's had a week's rest and training, and I don't want to be unfair to him, but he looked like a player who wasn't up to the standards physically against Woking, didn't he? At times, he obviously didn't play that bad, but you could tell that he wasn't quite ready and fit to play a game a week after having played quite an intense FA Cup match. So maybe the writing was on the wall. Maybe that was the kind of thing that maybe he'd noticed. I don't want to be unfair on him, but a couple of weeks after when we had was it Owen O'Connell injured, he didn't then feature on the bench, and I think you're starting to see then, if Harry Lennon's not coming back onto the bench, there's obviously signs there, isn't there?
No, I think he wasn't fit by then anyway, and I think that Woking game was as a sign as well of he was struggling to get the match fitness as well as the physical fitness, and
of course, yeah.
That's just a real shame, but he's a cracking player, and he'll always have the fact that he scored the first goal at the racecourse which Robin Ryan attended. The Torquay match, he scored the first goal. So first goal Rob Ryan ever saw at the racecourse. They've seen a lot since, but Harry Lennon scored the first.
Yeah, absolutely. And good luck to Harry Lennon and to all the players actually that have been released. Another one who I don't think will struggle to get a club, but played a really important part in the last couple of years is Reisel Johnson. Yeah. I think it's easy for us to forget as a club, considering how far we've come along and being able to bring in players from League 2 or League 1, just how good really Reisel Johnson was, especially in his first season with the club.
Yeah.
Was he player of the season, wasn't he, in his first year?
But
he was in the running for it, wasn't he? Yeah, and scored a lot of goals from a wing back position.
7.
Yeah. Himself struggled with injuries. My one big memory of him will be a lot of it being down to the fact that he played a lot behind closed doors, but his last minute winner against Wealdstone, that away end went absolutely bananas. Literally to the point where the hoardings were falling down and the barrier fell down, didn't it? To be involved in a moment like that, it's a shame to see him having to move on, but I think again, not being able to have that consistency because of injuries has hampered his time at Wrexham, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, massively in the last sort of year and a half or so, which is such a huge shame, isn't it? Well, maybe 2 years. When we got injured on the first day of the season in the Phil Parkinson, his first season as manager, was out for a good chunk of time. It's a terrible shame, because if he'd stayed fit, who knows, he might have been able to nail that place down for himself. But this season, when he's come back from injury, he's found a situation where he's behind Ford, he's behind Barnett, he's feasibly behind McAlinden, who's been used on the right, and he's scrapping with Bryce Hosanna as well. And so he asked to go out on loan, didn't he? Because he knew he wouldn't be getting games this season. Yeah. And I think the moment that happened, it was obvious that it would be best for him to find a new club, because he was seeing that it would be difficult to break through. But it's a real shame, because, like you said, he's had some real dramatic moments. He's a lot of assists as well as those goals. He's been crucial on a number of occasions, and he's got a habit of scoring late away goals in the South East for some reason. He's hit in about 3 times, scored in 3 times, equalisers or winners. Really nice lad as well, and for me, he's clearly, if you're a good, ambitious National League team, he would suit the bill beautifully. I would say if you're a League 2 team, I think we could easily come up against him soon, because he's got the attributes. As long as you're satisfied that he's been able to get himself fit, I would be inclined to take a gamble on him myself.
Absolutely, and you only have to look at some of the other players that were in that team that Reisel Johnson did so well, in Kwame Thomas and Tyler French, who've both gone and won the Scottish Championship with Dundee FC. So we're letting go of players that are genuinely quality. It's not like a couple of years ago when you'd be leaving someone and that might be either the end of their career or end of the career in terms of the position that they were going to end up in. I'm trying to be fair, because professional footballers have got, even at, say, National League North level, they've got more talent in their little toe than I've got in the rest of my body. So I don't want to be one of those people who slags off pro footballers, but we're letting go of players and bringing in players that are such a high calibre that the ones that are leaving us aren't going on a downward spiral after they leave, are they?
Yeah, Christian Dibble as well, so he's got promoted, which is absolutely fantastic, alongside Nat Knight Percival.
Yes,
And,
I didn't know he was playing for them until the final,
And also their manager, Russell Penn, who was a guest on Dragonheart a couple of seasons ago and was brilliant. And it's fantastic. I think he does a terrific job there, and Kidderminster shouldn't be in the National League North.
No,
they deserve to be higher, and Dibble shouldn't be either. He's a cracking goalkeeper. Made a couple of superb, important saves when it was 0-0 in that match. First, until Kidderminster scored their first goal, I don't know if you saw it, which was a real combination of comedy defending and outstanding finishing.
it's a good goal.
But until that point, Brackley were just battering them, and Dibble was made 2 or 3 excellent saves, and you thought, oh, this is a one-way traffic, and then that one goal just changed everything. But if Dibble hadn't kept them in it, then it would have been a very different game, I think. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to all those players that have been released. We have also...
Can I just mention about players being released as well? I mean, obviously, Jake Hyde was never going to come back, so that's just a formality to put him on there. I feel sorry for some of the young lads. I mean, naturally, I have sympathy for the fact that they've not had their chance with us. I mean, the specific ones that come to mind are Dan Jones, who I know very well, and Ryan Austin, are absolute dyed-in-the-wool, massive Wrexham fans, and so this is such a shame. And they've got genuine ability, and I just hope that they can land at a good club now that will allow them to be back at that sort of level pretty quickly once they get a bit more first team experience, because they're both Wrexham through and through. I really wish the best to them, not trying to miss out other people, and I must say I don't know who Will Manfield supports, so sorry about that, Will. But yeah, I just thought it was appropriate to say that. And also Rory Watson, to be fair, who didn't get on the pitch, but it was brilliant to have a backup keeper who has that level of experience in the Football League, and also he does look, to be fair, like when you see all the great photos that the media team photographers do, he does look like he's had a whale of a time anyway with us. He was loving it on the bus, in warm-ups and stuff. You can see he's enjoying himself, and I'm glad I think he's enjoyed his year with us, even though it hasn't really helped him in terms of developing as a player.
So I mean, anyone who comes and joins us as a club and is willing to give, I know they do get, it's a job and they get paid, but at the end of the day, they're coming to choose to play for us or be as part of our squad. Should always go with our thanks, and thank you very much for the time at the club, and good luck in the future. We have also exercised options to extend the contract of Scott Butler and Aaron James, so 2 young players that are actually staying with the club, which is fantastic. We've also extended Mark Howard, Anthony Ford and Paul Mullins' contracts, so I mean that kind of goes without saying how important those players have been for us this season, so to see their contracts extended is great.
Am I right in interpreting that as they've sparked those extensions? Those are extensions in their hands that they have taken advantage of?
I mean, the statement just says, following promotion, the following players' contracts have been extended by a further season. So it's difficult to interpret which side of the club the club or the players have extended that.
I'm very happy if it is the players, by the way. I wasn't trying to stir things up. I mean, Howard's, I know, some people have been a little surprised by that. I'm not, to be honest, because he played the majority of the season for us. He did a good, solid job. He accepted that Foster was an upgrade. Lainton is a very high-quality goalkeeper. If those are our 3 keepers next season, we've got the best set of goalkeepers in that division by a distance, I would say.
Yeah.
So I mean, people showed a bit of surprise about Howard, but I love the idea of him, Lainton, plus another. That's great.
That's a real strength in depth. I do wonder sometimes what people expect when we've got a player who at the start of the season performed as well as Howard did. The amount of clean sheets, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the amount of clean sheets he had this season. Yes, you need a good defence in front of you to get clean sheets, but keepers still play a humongous part in that, and keeping clean sheets. And maybe some people might not want him as first choice after having Ben Foster in, that experience all going on, but why would you not want a player of his quality at least involved in the squad? Baffles me. Howard's a fantastic keeper, so you know.
Totally. People overreacted to the Maidenhead game. The fact that mistake he made at the end when he didn't come out, although it's got to be said that the defence could have dealt with it better as well. But yeah, he did misjudge that. It was a mistake by him. It did cost us 2 points. That's goalkeeping.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
How about the games when he's done well and kept us in it? I've got no qualms about Howard at all.
No, same here. And then obviously Paul Mullin, we don't need to say any words about.
He's supposed to be good, isn't he?
He's all right, isn't he?
He's worth a punt, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, speaking of goalkeepers, we'll go back a step. Ben Foster, we don't, as of the time of recording, we don't currently know what Ben Foster is thinking and whether he's intended to return to retirement or to play. One more year. 4 more years. 4 more years. I'd absolutely love Foster to stay, but that's just one of those things, isn't it? And Liam McAlinden has been offered a contract. Again, another one that there's been a reaction to online in some corners, but McAlinden's a player who can play in a number of positions. We don't know what goes on inside the dressing room, but you'd imagine he isn't kicking up a fuss with not getting playing time, otherwise he wouldn't be offered a contract.
Exactly. Parkinson knows him, he knows what he's like with the other players. He's obviously thinks he's someone who fits in as important in that atmosphere. And like you said, he's extremely versatile. So, if he can play both wings, he could play up front. He's played centre midfield for us and done pretty well, actually. I think people forget, like in that first season, some of his ability to wriggle out of tight corners was impressive, but then he started getting used more as a wing back and we didn't see so much of it. But when he was playing more centrally, he was getting into some very good positions.
Yeah, like his important interception when he was playing in centre midfield against Stockport in the FA Trophy. That tackle was unbelievable, and probably why Parkinson decided to then start playing him as a wing back a bit more often, because he'd shown the qualities, that defensive quality to be able to do that position.
I mean, in that season as well, that there were times where we brought him on to make us more attacking as well, weren't there?
Yeah.
So if an away game wasn't going well, he would be our change to the 4 system. He'd be thrown on as a more attacking wing back than, say, Cameron Green, and he was decisive in a few games, setting up second half goals that allowed us to come back. So, again, I think we've become, understandably, I know I have, a bit spoilt by the quality of players coming in, and some people look at McAlinden and say, oh, well, should we upgrade on him? But I think he's a very good squad man to have around because he can fulfil so many different roles.
Absolutely, and we'll be going, I think it's, don't want to forget that we'll be going from having league games, FA Trophy games and FA Cup games to league games, FA Cup games, League Cup games, and the FA Trophy, which is a group stage now.
FA Trophy?
The Football League Trophy, I should say, the Pizza Cup.
Your Ferribying is not working.
You're
obsessed with this trophy.
PTSD.
It's the Papa John.
The Papa John's Pizza Cup, or whatever you want to call it, which actually starts with a group stage with I think it's a group stage of 3, and the group stage is a home and away fixture against those other sides. So potentially that's 4 extra games. Well, no, it is 4 extra games plus 1 extra game with the League Cup plus 1 extra game with the FA Cup. But you could then end up multiplying quite a lot if we have a few cup runs. So having a deep squad as much as a strong squad is going to be important, isn't it?
And clearly the Papa John is a chance for players to, who aren't playing, to get a match, I rather suspect, when they're playing Reading under 21s or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when Reading was what he did in English literature.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Also on the retained list, he says, moving on from that outstanding play on words, we've released Neil, haven't we? And Che has walked out to sign for a Preston North End podcast. So just the 2 of us now. It's tragic, isn't it? Neil's done well for us. But when you look at the end of his contract, we can upgrade. We can get...
We can, and certainly, in fairness, having to rely on his horse and cart every week to get him here from
exactly.
Richards,
It's harsh, isn't it? Yeah.
The horse is getting on a bit now, and the wheels on the cart are going a little bit. He'd often arrive late.
Yeah.
So it's you can't rely on that, and we've had to upgrade, haven't we?
Yeah, podcasting is a tough game.
And by upgrade, we're doubling our wages. I think that his wages are going to you, and Jay's wages are coming to me.
Exact doubling of our wages. 2 times 0 is
0. Anyway,
we're only joking. They're alive and locked in my basement.
They're actually preparing. So we can move on from the retain list, and they're actually preparing, ready for our end of season party next week, which will be taking place in a secret location, with some special guests that we may. Should we wait?
Yeah,
we'll wait until the podcast before we reveal who is coming.
Maybe
mainly because they
feed you some initials.
They may decide that they've got some washing or something to do instead of coming to the Dragonheart end of season party. But we've got a few special guests, and we're looking forward to that. Other than that, coming up next, we have our interview with Josh and Joe from St. Joseph's School, who aren't football fans, but given us a bit of a perspective on what it's been like living in Wrexham over the last 2 years.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
So we're joined today by Josh and Joe, who are here with us in the Calon FM studio. Lads, you're not football fans, are you?
No.
So why are you here then?
That's the tough interview technique of Mr. Jeremy Paxman himself.
Got Mr. Griffiths. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of how the lads have gotten involved with Dragonheart today?
Well, completely, because, or even absolutely, for those of you who speak English. Basically, the lads are students in St. Joseph's, we're teachers in St. Joseph's, and, well, they were handpicked for their articulacy and intelligence, but we, in Dragonheart, we're interested in the social and community side just as much as the football. And lads, we want to talk to you about what it's like to be teenagers in Wrexham, seeing this change in the town, because let's be honest, the difference in the town, I think, over the last 3 years is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, like 2 years ago, if you told me Ryan Reynolds was gonna even come here, I would have been losing my mind. But he comes here frequently, like he's been here like 1 billion times. It's strange.
Yeah, it's always been I wouldn't dream would be too strong of a word, but I feel like I've always I'm gonna use dream. I've always dreamt, like in primary school, like of fame of any kind come to Wrexham, because it's a very much out of the way, not very mentioned town. Well, until Reynolds and Mackle.
Henny.
Yeah.
I can see you contemplating how to pronounce his name then. It is mad, isn't it? I mean, when the news of the takeover happened, I remember, Joe, we had a running joke about it, in which I'd claimed that Ryan Reynolds was in a cupboard or something listening to our lesson, was about to come out. And I think it's fair to say, even though we knew this was happening, we didn't really, we believed that he might buy us, but we didn't believe there could be a possibility of us like bumping into him.
Yeah, I definitely was like, it's so strange. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's just strange. That's the word that comes to mind when I think of it, because Wrexham doesn't really get enough attention, to be honest. So why are celebrities so interested in it,
Exactly. I mean, before all this happened, what was your view of Wrexham and coming off from Wrexham?
Bad. I mean,
Me too, to an extent, I'll be honest.
because I'd walk past McDonald's just down the road, and then I'd see the homeless reading the news on the kids' iPads, and I was just, it was like, well, Wrexham's okay, I guess, maybe. No, to put it bluntly, it's it wasn't very good. Well, they've taken away the iPads now, so
Everything changes,
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of the Declan Swan's song that everybody's got imprinted in their brains now. And it is all about that negative image that Wrexham had. I remember just about 6 months before the takeover, we did get sort of national notoriety because of people off their heads on spice in the bus station, and that tended to be, I think it's fair to say, isn't it, the image we had beforehand.
I think Wrexham had sort of become a bit of an easy target, hadn't it, at one point. That kind of thing happens in all towns, including big cities like London, but for some reason it was placed, not just Wrexham, but places like Wrexham that were highlighted as, oh, look at this town with all the spice zombies in it, which, you know, I don't think is completely fair, but then again, they were still there, weren't they? You know, it's not like they weren't there, so...
But like you say, everywhere has issues like that, and we were quite an easy target. I mean, I've been to Newport, for goodness sake. As if you're going to criticise Wrexham, well, exactly. I mean, I'm still suffering from PTSD as a consequence, which is like Port Talbot. There must be something I can add on the end that'll make it funny, but sadly I just thought at the start of it. Oh well, I'll if you guys talk amongst yourselves 10 minutes, I'll think of a really clever conclusion to that acronym. But yeah, I mean, and naturally I think people had a negative view of town, and I'm not, you know, I'll confess, even though I'm from Wrexham and I'm proud of, you know, coming from here, I did have a bit of a negative sense of, but does much go on here? In fact, I remember once being told off by a pupil for actually saying that, and she was quite right, pointing out that T-Power does interesting stuff. There are lots of interesting things that go on in Wrexham, but I did feel that maybe Wrexham didn't sell itself, had lacked self-confidence. But now it feels different.
I think that's it. I think it's spot on. I mean, we've always had Focus Wales here, where there's bands from all over the UK and the world who come and play at Wrexham, and there's the football. I'm now struggling to think of anything else. Ervig, you know,
you're not selling Wrexham's rejuvenated city here, are you?
We've always had little things. I think for me, I've always been really proud of coming from Wrexham for no reason other than stubbornness. I think if you're from the town and you can't believe in the town, who else is going to believe in the town apart from two multi-millionaire celebrities? But that's you know, before they came along, I think going away to university, and you two hopefully will get good enough GCSEs, especially in your IT and your English, that you can go away to university eventually and go and experience it. But when you move away, you do realise the positives and the negatives of the town. I mean, I lived in Bangor for 3 years, which is another small North Wales town that has a bit less going for it, but it has a bit of a nightlife because there's loads of students. It's a bit of a small town and it's all right. I like it. But Wrexham was better. And then I went away to Liverpool for a year, and you've got everything that goes on in a city, but you're surrounded by people. Wrexham's that nice sort of middle ground between the two, where there's enough going on that you're not bored. There's also not too many people that get in your way and bother you. But I think we've been really bad as a town at selling that, and you guys have grown up with just a negative image of town, I'd imagine, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
From other people as well. You know, like how would you describe the change that's happened since the takeovers happened and the football clubs are sort of bouncing?
Honestly, it's unbelievable, because like I fully had a passion of hating Wrexham, but until Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney came along, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe there's a part of Wrexham we're not seeing, and that's the community and even the football. Even though I'm not a fan of football, it definitely brings the people together. I just think it's great now, and I'm proud to say I'm from Wrexham.
I still view Wrexham negatively. Not as negative as before, but I still, I was like, why Wrexham? I know I mentioned that dream, but it's just like, it was like, well, why Wrexham? It's such an odd thing, because it's like, well, I look around and there's like homeless on the streets, there's crime. It's not as bad as other towns. Not real. We're not real.
Only yesterday Mr. Long was attacking. I called him Mr. Long then, as weird, isn't it? Attacking Grill in the most horrific manner possible.
Let me put it out there. I don't mind Rill. Rill is okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. If you stare towards the sea and don't turn around, maybe. I just
Brill gonna bomb us. You're listening to Camino Radio.
But yeah, no, I just thought, why Wrexham? Because we're not a city. Well, we weren't at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're not. We've had basically no fame or no recognition at all. Like the fact that two multi-millionaires from another, from overseas, famous, know that Wrexham exists. Just know that it exists. Know that Wales exists for one.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
But that is, I think, something that has changed people's opinions of the town, in that you get self-confidence when somebody who people love and who is world-renowned turns around and says, "Oh, we like you."
Yeah.
I think that's what's given people, I don't know, do you think a boost of self-esteem in the town in general?
Yeah, definitely.
We need to convince Josh. It makes sense though, doesn't it? Ryan Reynolds he wants us.
I think anyone would feel like that, wouldn't they? Ryan Reynolds is a very handsome man.
He's a
isn't he?
beautiful man. Absolutely.
I was actually quite surprised about how handsome he was in person. You think these people are just airbrushed on TV, don't you? But then I saw him from a distance. It's like, oh, wow, you are definitely a handsome man.
Absolutely. My right hand, this hand has touched Ryan Reynolds' right hand.
I'm so jealous of you two, honestly.
I mean, he didn't know I was touching his right hand. I quickly squeeze and out. That's my strategy. But yeah, just that sense of, wow, they chose us. To me, that puts a spring in people's step. And to me, you hear people now being very proud of the town compared to how it used to be. I in my experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you be interested to go into one of the football games then? Or has it changed your opinion of football at all, or are you just still not bothered?
I've always had something against football. It might be because I got hit in the face in primary school. I just, little me waddled onto the field and then I just got hit. Oh. Nose bled and everything. And then after that, it was like, oh, football. Men running around. So I've always viewed football negatively. So I think I've been to maybe one Wrexham game when I was very little, but that's about it.
Honestly, when watching the Welcome to Wrexham, I was really, because I never really watched football, but when I saw all of that stuff and saw the community getting excited whenever Paul Mullen scored, I was like, wow, this feels. If I was there, I'd feel great, you know. So I would consider it definitely. Yeah.
I think that's a very important part of the whole thing, and I think that's a very important part of, that's why we thought we'd like to talk to you about this, because Ryan Reynolds said that sports is soap opera. It's a story, and he's right. And that show's done a good job, I think, of showing the connection between people and the events of a sports event and how that affects a community. And it's amazing the number of fans we've had from other countries who are following the team. Now, obviously, some of them they like football and they think, oh, well, they can be our British team. That's fair enough. But the number of people who are saying, we actually have no interest in sport, but we enjoyed the human elements, just like you're saying. And as a result of that, we want to follow this. That fascinates me, and that also leads to people within the town just having, even if they're not interested in going to a game, that sense of, the town's being represented. We're higher profile. We're important now. I think that's, I don't know, it's a wonderful thing to happen to any town. I'm struggling to think of another town that's had this happen to it, if I'm perfectly honest, but it is mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry. that does remind me, like, I was really taken back because I think I was walking through Wrexham and I could hear roars come from the stadium, and I must have been like 2 miles away, but you can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear everyone just, ooh, and it's. I was like, wow, and you, like when it's night as well, you can see the glow from the stadium.
Yeah.
It's really I was in awe.
It's quite an imposing figure in the town, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like this. When the match is on, if you're not there, it's like the heartbeat of the town is in that sort of. What would you say? It's not even a square mile, is it? I don't know. I'm not a maths teacher, so I'm not really sure. But
It's about 8 acres, I reckon. Looks like it's somebody using a farmer's eye. Yeah.
I mean, I go to all the home games now, pretty much. But growing up, I was a bit of a weird child. I quite liked football, but I never really wanted to actually go. And I've been lucky that I live close enough that you could always hear the cheers from my house, especially if the wind was blowing a certain way and Wrexham were actually doing well, which wasn't every week. But I think the fact that you can hear it from like as far as 2 miles now shows how loud the crowd is these days and how big the attendances are compared to when I was growing up. But football gets you in weird ways, lad. My mum didn't get into football until she was in her mid-30s. She just happened to go to a Wales game in the racecourse. Ryan Giggs scored. We played Canada. Does that ring a bell? About 2005-ish.
I struggle to remember Ryan Giggs ever playing for Wales. Not
No,
that I'm
that's
trying to
true.
make any points about it. There's fake injuries.
And if you ever get a chance to go, what'll happen to you? You will either fall in love with it or not. And as you get older, just being there, it is that crowd. You know, it is. But I'm with you. I find it boring watching it on TV most of the time. I can watch the World Cup, I can watch the odd Champions League game, maybe the odd Premier League game, but there's nothing like actually being in the stadium, is there, and experiencing it. And you know, you're getting the next best thing, which is the town loving it, and there actually being a buzz around the town and everything. Because me and Mark can tell you that there's been plenty of years where that hasn't been present.
Oh yeah, that not only did the wind have to be blowing in a particular direction for me to be able to hear the game when I was a kid, the wind had to be blowing in a particular direction for Wrexham to win, let's be honest. Apart from wind-assisted victories, there are few and far between.
Wind-assisted.
Be
a great name for an indie band, that.
Wind-assisted. Oh, on Twitter last night, somebody was talking about band names, and I felt I came up with some pearlers. Pasta Blaster was one of them. But I'm going to find them in a minute and just please myself reading them out. That'll be proper radio. It's also great fun in that, you know, you might bump into Will Ferrell here these days.
Yeah.
I mean, how insane is it that other people are like these people that they're real, as it turns out, and they come here. It's just, I don't know how to, it's harsh of me to ask you this, I don't know how to articulate it, but Will Ferrell, you know, Blake Lively maybe, you know, I don't think she has been to Wrexham, but it's so.
No, I don't think she has.
But she's been to Maidenhead, the Lucky Devil. Oh God, now I've insulted someone else. What's wrong with me? But yeah, this level of celebrity we've got coming here, it's just mad. How do you think, you know, in school, do you notice people, I mean, I always notice there's more Wrexham shirts when there's on those days, and Wrexham insignias and stuff, but how do you feel it is amongst people of your age? How do they take this?
Not really in the school, but I do feel that in the school, but I just can explain it better from my friends.
Please. Yeah.
You know, I have a group of friends, and they're huge football fans, and they didn't really go that much to football games, but when Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney came around, they were willing to actually go, and you know, I think seeing them more happy as Wrexham supporters is great for me. I don't know why, but it just is. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
I'm Liam McClendon and this is Dragonheart.
So that's pretty much all we've got time for on Dragonheart today. One thing that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks, especially for international viewers, usually this kind of tails off for a couple of weeks. We have our little end of season break before the madness starts. Please don't get suckered into online rumours about players. I saw one that said that Derby County were putting a 300k bid in for Mullin, and I almost spat my coffee out in laughter all over the place at that one. You know, it's for those of you who haven't been introduced to the madness yet, it is mad. Don't believe everything you read on Twitter. Wait until it's on the official club website or the official club Twitter so you can believe that. But you know, just to take Mullin into account, I don't think anybody knew about that until the morning of, when the rumblings started to happen, and then it was a pretty swift transfer, wasn't it?
When he came to us.
Yeah, when he came to us, not when he left.
The up the Rams, I mean, it's sort of slightly tricky because occasionally mad stories come up and you laugh at them and then they become true, like Ben Foster. But having said that, something that's notable under Rob and Ryan is transfer stories aren't getting leaked out much.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, the fan ownership was brilliant in a number of ways. But there's one of the drawbacks was that there's lots of people involved in fan ownership, so lots of people in the loop, and as a result, we were a very leaky club. You know, I can't remember the last transfer under the ownership of the fans where I didn't know about it beforehand. not from being in the club, but just from it becoming public as people were desperate to whisper our secrets.
Yeah, and that's the nature of being a football fan, isn't it? People are always desperate to get the gossip out. They want to be the first person. Oh, see, told you.
Yeah.
You know, like to put it out there, we do not hear anything in advance, and I mean, compared to some people, we're relatively close to the club, aren't we? Yourself especially. The most we maybe get is a 5-minute warning that something is going live on the website, just to be prepared in case there's a bit of a media storm around it, and that's about it.
And that's quite rare as well.
Yeah.
So you know, it's people love making rubbish up about transfers, and when I say people, that includes journalists, and also. People love just trying to show off that they do something first. So handle all stuff about transfers with care until, as you say, a reputable source. And I would say that's club channels, obviously, but then also, you know, people like Tommy Cowse and Rich Williams, who are dedicated reporters on the club. You know, they're not going to go to print with something unless they feel more confident about it.
Exactly. You know, and you got to remember now that this you know, even home-based fans now, this season has seen a dramatic uptick in engagement on social media. I seen someone on Twitter earlier talking about how the Sky Sports News video breaking that Paul Mullin had extended his contract had around 1 million more than the views than the average Sky Sports News video. A lot of that was people from jealous clubs going, oh, why are they talking about Wrexham? They're not talking about Burton or Barrow. Which I've been that person when other clubs have been successful, so I can't complain too much. But we're now becoming news to the point where people are going to make things up to get clicks. So take everything with a pinch of salt. And then other than that, probably other than our end of season party, the last big thing of the season will be goal of the season, really, won't we? Which we're currently trying to compile.
I am the guilty party on that. Just to explain, the last couple of years has worked really well. For the Steve Edwards Goal of the Season trophy, we have had a bracket, so we've put goals against each other and had a public vote. It's great fun. Some years it's hard. Before we did that, we used to have like a 10 goal shortlist, and generally that felt like the right number. There was one year when it was really difficult to come up with 10 good goals, I'll be honest with you. Huh? And yet this year, I clicked all 140 of our goals, and then I started making a shortlist, and that shortlist was enormous. It was over 50. And so I tried to pull it down, but even I tried to put them into different folders, like definite, maybe. The definites are around 25. And I want it down to 16. So there'll be goals that I consider to be absolutely top-notch that don't even get onto the 16, and that's why it's going to take a bit longer, because I've basically reached out to a few people who know what they're talking about to give me their 16 out of those goals, so that I can do it mathematically, you know, by saying, okay.
And some people who don't know what they're talking about, like me.
Yeah, absolutely don't. Well, you know, sometimes you've got to be a diplomat, haven't you? You know. By the way,
let the oiks have their choice as well. Yeah.
I asked for your opinion. I'll not look at it, but you think I will look at it, and that's what matters, isn't it? Really. By the way, you're released.
Fair enough. No, I had a look in. I didn't even look into your maybe folder. I just looked in the definite folder, and I still struggle to put 16 together. We've scored some absolutely cracking goals, and I can guarantee whatever the 16 goal bracket is, there are going to be a lot of people saying, oh, what about this goal? What about this goal? It's scandalous that this goal is not on there. I mean, I'm sure it would be delightful to sit through all 140 goals, but come up with your own list if you want to, because there's a lot of goals there.
And to show how subjective it is as well, I mean, I was thinking of you when I was putting things in different folders, because you were talking last week about the Elliott Lee goal at Coventry and how you loved that goal because of the terrific explosion of emotion in the away end, and I haven't put it in a definite folder because, for me, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean it, and therefore I'm sort of thinking, can that be goal of the season? But there's lots of different ways you can define that, aren't there? I mean,
I mean, he did outright say, didn't he, afterwards? I don't know whether it was straight after the match, but at some point that it was a cross aimed for the back stick for Mullin.
Very glad he did it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
And I was, like I said last week, I was sat probably about 3 or 4 rows up in the Coventry away end, right behind the goal, so you couldn't really see from that angle. Couldn't really see a lot. It just looked like he'd scored a banger, and it was an absolute. It was just a moment. But
I thought that as well commentating. I'm at the far end, quite near the corner flag at the other end, weirdly, and it looked like he'd just ripped an absolute screamer. But when you looked at the replays, you think, actually, has he really shot from there?
But also, when you see his goal against Farnborough, which was the previous round in the FA Cup, which is an absolute screamer.
Absolutely.
It's not. It wouldn't. You would have been forgiven walking away thinking he'd meant that, really, to be fair, some of the goals he scored. I think most people's lists, including the official club one, is probably going to have multiple entries of Elliott Lee goals in there.
Oh, yeah. So that'll be probably the end of the week, probably, I hope. But watch this space. It'll be fun, though.
It will, yeah. And obviously, when that's up, we'll put it through all the usual accounts, which you should be following. And also follow the Bank Street social account as well, just to get your updates on the best coffee in town. We're not biased.
We're not biased, but if you keep saying that, we might get a free one. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, boss.
We are not receiving any, just for the Advertising Standards Agency, we are not receiving any free products.
Yeah, absolutely right.
This is not an advert. We just like this place. I think that's all we've got time for before the ASA start knocking on our door, Mark.
I think absolutely.
Fantastic. So this has been Dragonheart with me, Bill Long, and him, Mark Griffiths.
I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah, well, it took me a second, didn't it?
I wasn't going to say anything. I was waiting to see if you knew my name.
Follow us on... I just thought you were Neil for a second. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the socials. This has been Dragonheart.
Ta-ra.
I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.